Though Grey's Anatomy is pretty hands-on with its props, you'd be surprised to learn just how much of the show relies on CGI. For example, CGI fills in many of Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital's iconic spaces. That view over the elevated walkway overlooking the bustling lobby where our doctors often carry on tense, passive-aggressive exchanges? That's all CGI, and so are many random hallways and windows looking out onto the outside world. It's hard to remember that Sloan Memorial isn't even a real hospital. Grey's Anatomy may have wrapped long ago, but fans are still captivated by the show's interpersonal conflicts and heart-stopping emergencies. Today, Collider goes behind the scenes of the hit series to show how the creative team made all that medical drama come to life, guts and all. Check it out. Grey's Anatomy has no problem leaning into drama, but when it comes to delivering on the medical aspect of things, the showrunners get real. Actual doctors and medical advisors are on staff to review scripts and ensure the details of the on-screen tribulations in the OR are accurate. We sort of make sure that all the medicine is as close to real as possible, shares Dr. Fred Eisenman, a script consultant. And it's a big collaboration. Eisenman goes on to say that since there are so many different kinds of doctors on the show, the team pulls experts across different specialties to ensure accuracy, which means he's making all kinds of interesting phone calls during the production season. But when the doctors are away, the writers must still play, or at least write. Show writers find ways to work around the medical jargon. They don't know when expertise is absent. As executive producer Shonda Rhimes shares in her memoir, Yes of Yes, a go-to workaround is inserting terms like medical as a placeholder until it can be replaced with the right terminology. For example, a character might say, I need a medical to medical, until later corrected by a medical advisor. The medical experts provide feedback about what it's like to work in an intense hospital environment, and will often lend their own experiences to the whiteboard. The writers also research real cases and bring them to the room. Several episodes of Grey's Anatomy have us scratching our heads saying, now that can't be real, but a lot of the time it is. For example, one patient shows up to the ER passed from auto-brewery syndrome, which is to say that his body gets him drunk without alcohol. In this extremely rare but recorded condition, a patient's bowels turn ordinary sugars into alcohol, thereby inebriating the patient from the inside and pushing their alcohol levels sky high. The case was so weird that the writers just couldn't resist throwing it into an episode. Not to mention, there are plenty of other odd cases: a girl who can hear her internal organs, a baby born with his brain outside of his body. If you can dream it, it probably happened. And then it probably ended up in an episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Do you know where you are?
Grace Sloan Memorial.
Things often get a little gruesome on Grey's Anatomy, to say the least. In one high-stakes scene, Christina Yang is performing her first solo surgery for an audience of her peers. Things start to go downhill quickly, however, when the patient becomes tachycardic, and Christina has difficulty locating the leader. She digs and clambers around a red, pulsating heart. The patient's pulse drops dangerously low. Rags drenched in blood are passed around, and you can almost hear the sloshing of bodily fluids as Christina, without any help from Dr. Altman, attempts to salvage the situation. In true Christina fashion, she comes through and her patient is saved. As for that bright red pulsating heart, it was most likely a cow's heart rigged to a pump, which makes it beat. The blood that surrounds it was likely a mixture of red jello and chicken fat. The team relies on animal organs and food products to create ultra-realistic props. Actress Sarah Drew, who plays Dr. April Kepner, describes the smell as repulsive, or like burning flesh, as the actors saunter through bovine parts for the camera. While unpleasant, it helps get the actors into the urgent mindsets of their characters, and it gives viewers with strong stomachs plenty to gawk at. As for the poor patients getting gutted on the table, they're actually hollow mannequin bodies. Actors can cut them open, rifle through the innards as created by the props department, and suture them back up. No anesthesia is needed, thank goodness. The unfortunate patients, along with all the other gnarly-looking prosthetic props, are stored in a medical prop room on set. There they sit, always watching and always waiting for another chance to be opened.
Your pelvis is fractured and there may be some bleeding. We need to do a CT scan, check for bleeding and other injuries, all right?
CT, is that sacred?
However, not even the greatest prop magic could sell the show if the actors couldn't convincingly portray their doctor character. The cast appears fluent in medical lingo and gracefully wields their scalpels. That's because newcomers to the hospital cast complete a 2-week doctor boot camp before filming. For 2 weeks, the actors learned basic medical techniques. They taught us how to suture and how to check heartbeats, and how to listen for breath sounds, and how to intubate people, shares Adelaide Kane. They're also expected to wash up and prep for surgery just as any real surgeon would, but, you know, in less time, or however long it takes to get the dialogue out. As for that long medical terminology the characters rapid-fire spit back and forth at each other. It's not always smooth sailing, and sometimes it takes a few takes. As Harry Shum Jr. shares, thoracotomy is the easier one. There are ones that I can't even repeat anymore. After it's done filming, you just say, okay, hopefully we don't have to say that again, but we probably will. But studying doesn't end at boot camp. Shonda Rhimes hands out homework all through filming to prepare her cast to realistically convey their surgery scenes. Some of the actors take it a step further and visit hospitals on their own time to shadow real doctors. For example, Isaiah Washington followed surgeons for a 48 hours of stint. We admire the dedication, Isaiah. A+. However, no matter how grueling it is, the cast admits that doctor training can also be fun. There's so much to touch and pick up, and you got so many tools in your hands. It is like a very grown-up, very sterile playground, adds Kane.
George, beer is dripping from your nostrils.
The actors also get a lot of help from the camera via speedy surgery montages that feature high camera angles, quick cuts, and strategic close-ups. A close-up of hands pumping a chest as a heart gives out, for example, or a few inches of flesh being cut open with a knife as a red line of blood seeps out. These small but quick shots serve as visual suggestions. It not only makes the scene appear higher stakes, but it also creates the illusion that our actor friends are actual doctors who know what they're doing. Despite how quickly these scenes run, sometimes just half-a-minute surgery montages are pretty arduous to film. A good piece of trivia is that anytime you have a surgical montage, it can take up to 2 days to shoot, and it's really just 30 seconds, reveals J.C. Elliott, who plays Taryn Helm. In film, as in real-life medicine, surgery is always the hardest part, but the post-production magic doesn't end there. Take, for example, this classroom scene in which Meredith weaves between tables with cadavers, prepared to impart wisdom to the newly minted doctors. The bodies are generated with CGI. CGI is also responsible for realistically showing a wide range of medical conditions and deformities, like dislocated shoulders, amputations, and discolored skin from gangrene. It's even used to show conjoined twins. Without CGI, Grace Sloan Memorial gets a lot more boring, and so do its cases. If you like a fun Easter egg, take notice of the names on the OR schedule board next time you sit down to re-binge Grey's Anatomy. Some of the names might look familiar to you if you have a habit of sticking around for the credits. That's because the board is filled with the names of crew members. It's a fun game between cast and crew, but more importantly, a nod to all the invisible men and women behind the scenes who help to make Grey's Anatomy the special show that it is.
I'm just not going.
You have to go to work. You're an intern. Saving lives is not optional.
There's a reason Grey's Anatomy has stayed relevant long after its finale. And there's a reason why we keep rewatching all the nail-biting procedures. It's thanks to the hard work and Hollywood magic of the cast and crew that make it all feel real.